All right, it's Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. The general session. Call to order, please, Joan.
Roderick,
Aye. Here.
Budzinski,
Here.
Garcia Guillen, Lee,
Here.
Lozano,
Here.
Mahalik, Morales, and O'Connell.
Here. We don't need a secretary pro tem because we have our secretary here. Welcome to everybody that's coming, and we're going to try to move things along so that, we don't have anything serious happen. And who's doing the pledge? I'll do the pledge.
Okay, perfect.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
With liberty and justice for all.
All right. You have any public comments, Joe?
No request to speak before the board, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks. So we're 1.1 business reports as needed.
No business reports this evening.
Okay, 1.2 moment of silence. Good moment of silence, right?
Okay. Okay, this evening I'd like to recognize those who have lost loved ones in their family. Betty Zakati, adjunct instructor, fine arts, and Dawn Rohrbach, wife of Ernie Rohrbach, our help desk analyst.
All right, thank you. 1.3 recognition of special guests. Any special guests here? Besides, what Bob always says. No special guests. 1.4 selected reports. Proclamation of March Women's History Month.
So I'd like to introduce Samantha Zigmont. Samantha is a second-year JJC student and education major. She's a JJC Players President, treasurer of the Collegiate Club Council, and treasurer of the Active Minds Mental Health Awareness Group. Welcome, Samantha. Samantha, if you're there, you're muted.
Hello, everyone.
There. Do you have a copy of Proclamation in front of you?
Yes. All right, Women's History Proclamation. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation and community in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of life of the nation and constitute a significant portion of the labor force inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. And whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation and community. And whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other social and political movements. And whereas American women deserve all the rights, privileges, and acknowledgement afforded all human beings in our society. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District Number 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, and the state of Illinois hereby recognize and salute the women of our nation and community and designate the month of March as Women's History Month in Illinois Community College District number 525.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Joan, roll, please.
Roderick.
Aye.
Kaczynski.
Aye.
Garcia Guillen.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Lozano.
Yes.
And O'Connell.
Yes. 1.4.2, recognition of retiree Pat Christensen. Pat here?
I'm not sure if Pat's with us this evening.
Well, thank you, Pat, wherever you are. 1.4.3, recognition of retiree Karen Graves. It's Graves, sorry.
I don't believe Dr. Whitehead Karen is here this evening. No.
1.4.4. Motion to approve, or recognition of retiree Elizabeth Budd.
Libby, are you here this evening? No.
1.4.5, recognition of retiree Mary.
My audio just went out. I can't hear anything.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay.
And my video is not working, by the way. I don't care if you see me, if you don't care if you see me, but it's not letting me turn it on.
We'll work on that for the next meeting, promise.
You're already at 1.4.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went up to 1.4.2 all the way up to 1.4.5, inclusive of all of those as a first motion to approve.
Okay. Got
Second.
a motion to second. Call the roll, please, Joan.
Roderick.
Aye.
Kaczynski.
Aye.
Garcia Guillen.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Lozano.
Aye.
And O'Connell.
Yes. Faculty Union Report. Dr. Bob Barsing.
I am here. I hope you can see and hear me, although seeing me is not necessarily a treat. I would, there's just one thing I want to briefly talk about today, and I know you will be in the consent agenda. There's an item on tenure, etc. I just want to again reiterate that this is a rigorous process. And we want it to be a rigorous process. We want to make sure that we retain the best all the way down through our faculty, and because getting tenure is a big deal, and it should be a big deal, and it provides academic freedom for the instructor, etc. But it also, the process itself, the vigorous and rigorous process that we use, guarantees that people go through several different steps and must meet the challenge at all of those. And so I'm very happy to see that many of our faculty, several of our faculty, are up for tenure this month. I hopefully will be able to welcome them to our group. And again, I just wanted to emphasize how important this whole process is to all of us and how we need to be vigilant with it. So, and we are, from the chairs to the deans to the VPAA and faculty members themselves, we understand how important this process is. So that is really, other than the obvious, which is, I want to, say this is. I'm going to say something that's so silly and obvious that March being Women's Month, there's nothing I can say about that. That is I mean, it's, you know, I could say something trite like I tend to do. Every month should be. But it's important that we have these months, and it's important that we set aside and recognize the contributions of women. And so I just wanted to say that, but I don't want to sound trite in doing so. So that's all I have for this evening. As always, thank you for allowing me to speak, and hope you're all doing well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. 1.4.7, adjunct faculty. Laurel, are you here?
I am actually here, yes.
Very good.
Nice to see you all. I'll be brief because we know what's coming in the weather, but there's really not a lot to say at this point. The semester's going pretty well. As I'm sure you're all aware, our contract negotiations are kind of in the home stretch, I hope. So we're looking to get that wrapped up sometime relatively soon. I do want to make one comment about retiree Libby Budd, because I wish she was on the call tonight. It appears that she's not. She's retiring as a manager, but she started out as an adjunct in adult ed. So I had the opportunity to work with her in that capacity. She was a department rep and involved with the union. And then when she jumped to the management side, we had a very, very collaborative, very cooperative working relationship there as well. So I just want to offer her and all the other retirees my congratulations and best wishes. And that's all I have for tonight. So thanks for the opportunity, and see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. 1.5. It is the approval of the monthly meetings for January 19th.
So moved.
Second.
Joan?
Roderick,
Aye.
Kaczynski.
Aye.
Yes. Lee,
Yes.
Zano,
Yes.
Morales, and O'Connell.
Yes. 1.5.2, review of CCW board work training notes of December 15th, 2021. Motion to approve.
I think we're just reviewing, aren't we?
Reviewing.
It says review, it doesn't say approval.
It does have, so it's indicated for approval.
So it would be for approval, so it should have said approval then.
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Joan?
Roderick,
Aye.
Kaczynski,
Aye.
Narcigian. Yes. Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales, and O'Connell.
Yes. 1.6, communications. Any further communications, Ms. Tierney?
No further communications, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. 1.7, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales. Yes. Roderick
Aye.
and Kaczynski.
Aye.
And O'Connell.
Yes. 1.8, approval of the consent agenda is presented. So moved.
Second.
Did you want some items pulled?
Do you?
Yes. There was a second.
Yeah.
There is a second.
2.8.3, 4.2.2, those are my two.
4.6.
Okay, 4.6.
4.5. And 4.7.
To our media team, if you can check into the echoing, I'm not sure what's happening, but it's causing a bit of a disturbance.
Trustee Morales, I had 4.5, 4.6, and 4.7, correct?
One second.
That's what I have.
I believe so. Let me just double check real quick. And then 4.2.3.
4.2.3. So, Mr. Chairman, there's a motion and a
My audio just went out again.
Mine did too.
Hello, can you hear
Hello?
me? Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the storm and the wind.
Okay.
That's right.
Stick with us. We'll get there.
All right, you want to start with 4.2.2?
We got to do
Roll
a roll call on the consent agenda with everything.
I'm sorry, I thought that's right. Joan, can we go ahead?
Aye.
Garcia again?
Yes.
Lee? Lee?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Morales?
Yes.
Roderick?
Aye.
And O'Connell?
Yes. So 2.2.3.
I had that 2.8.3.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Trustee Broderick?
Correct.
Need a motion and a second?
So move. Second.
Don't go ahead, please.
No, I get to discuss.
Okay, discuss.
All right, I know that in here, I'm looking at what's been written, and I thought we should be inclusive to say that they had to get at least a grade of a C and the time on the job in order for them to get the credit. I thought that was something that we had discussed, because it just says implementation. It doesn't tell me a grade. It doesn't tell me the time frame that it starts. I mean, I'm okay with it, but I would like to see a grade of no lower than a C. I think that's what we had discussed. And the time frame, I thought it was a year in order for them to achieve the eligibility for reimbursement.
Correct. So we did listen to the board. We changed the eligibility. You had to be an employee for 1 year versus 6 months. We increased that. They do, the requirement is a minimum of a C grade.
Okay.
And if they leave the college 1 year, sooner than 1 year after receiving that reimbursement, they would have to reimburse the college.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's spelled,
Mhm.
that we all understand that.
Yes.
Because I know you wrote in your response back to us, my board,
Mhm.
in regards to that. I just wanted to make sure we were all in the same page with it.
Yes.
All right, that's my end of my question.
I didn't hear. Are we doing the grade of a C?
Pardon me?
Minimum? Are we doing the grade of C minimum?
C or better.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, the masks are, yeah, they're a little difficult.
Wayne, you have 2.8.3?
We have to vote on 2.8.
So 2.2, we have a motion, please, on 2.2.3.
We have a motion
You already had it.
and a second.
And a second. Okay. Let's go ahead and vote on that.
Garcia again?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Morales?
Yes.
Roderick?
Aye.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
And O'Connell?
Yes. Now we're at 2.8.3. Right?
I think it's just hard to hear the numbers sometimes, Mr. Chairman. I believe the next item is 4.2.2.
Okay. 4.2.2.
So moved. Second.
The discussion I have on this one is, I see it's over 10% of previous amount already approved. I know that you had responded back in regards to, were these things that we did not think we were going to get charged with as far as is it every time they come in to get checked, or we do everything online?
It's the additional usage fee, because when we started out, we were uncertain as the number of employees, students that would participate. So this is an increased usage fee for C4. Now, obviously, this will remain and, through the executive order for the governor, if at some point in time it changes, then we'd move away from C4. So
Do we have the option of renegotiating? Because if the governor calls off on 2/28, and this was my concern, if he calls off on 2/28, that we don't need to have these things on us anymore, will higher ed still be wanting to do this? Or will higher ed refrain and we will not have to use this?
the mask is completely separate. The C4 is used to track your vax or test, which is a requirement by the executive order. So what's in discussion right now is the mask only, not the vax or test.
Okay, so then we would go until August then, correct? From what the memo was from Dr. Farmer?
Potentially, right, and then we would come to the board to extend if needed.
In the
Okay.
judge's order, everything was considered part of the quarantine. The vaccine, the masks, all of it was named in the judge's order that was ruled against Pritzker's order. And JCAR supported that today, 9-0. My question is for Carl, are we as a board liable to get sued?
No.
So
I
we as board members are not liable to get sued for disrupting due process on our students.
No, you're not, because you're following regulations that you didn't impose. So as long as you follow laws that you didn't impose, then
These are not laws, and in fact, the judicial branch, which is the branch that's responsible for interpreting those laws, has struck down null and void IDPH's requirements and the Illinois State Board of Education requirements, and said that they are unconstitutional and against due process. So we are not following laws. We are following mandates that a judge now, who is the person who that branch interprets the laws. It was then backed up by a second judge after Pritzker appealed it, and it has now been backed up by JCAR for everything. It is
still don't
against.
have, to answer your question, you still don't have any liability.
I don't know if she can hear
You
you.
have that, Michelle?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
We need a vote, Mr. Chairman, on 4.2.2.
Thank you. Go ahead, Joan.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
No.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Roderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. Four
4.2.3.
So moved. Second. Sure. So I requested to have item 4.2.3, contractual service for the WIOA grant training services. We're being asked to approve additional vendors, to approve certain vendors that are going to provide services to our students, which include CDL training, and medical courses, the Genesis Healthcare Institute and Microtrain, which offers IT related. All of these are excellent vendors, and I have no question with the vendors.
Mhm.
But this is a grant that we receive. The WIOA grant, as you noted earlier, Dr. Mitchell, in the question I asked before, is over 1.4 million. Is that a cumulative of the Will County Adult Work Readiness Grant of almost 400,000 and the Grundy Adult of 273,000 and the Grundy Youth of 186? Is all of that compiled in the WIOA grant, or are these all separate grants?
I believe they're individual, but I'm going to defer to either Dr. Farmer or Dr. Gray as you prepared those responses. Come up to the podium. Thank you.
All of those fall under WIOA. WIOA is the umbrella, and so those do fall under that 1.4 million.
So the 1.4 encompasses all of the grants. Okay, that was one of my questions. So thank you for responding to that. But my next question, in the response I received, I also asked for headcount over the last 5 years. And the largest headcount we had was in 2015 with 120 students. Currently, for 2021, we have 33 students. So if we only have 33 students, is this in all of the programs or that are being, are these students receiving the WIOA grant? How are you dividing that? Like, are some of these nursing, some of them are CDL? Okay, so in all of the programs, right now, we have 33 students enrolled. Okay, so if we have $1.4 million, and it's right now, we only have 33 students, that's about 43,571 per student, which is not the right way to look at it because it's a service that we are offering, correct?
Yeah.
It's a service. And even though in 2015 we did have 120 students overall enrolled, that's been our highest year. Right after that, in 2016, we had 88 students. And in 2018, we had 86 students. And since then, it's been dwindling down. And right now, we're only at 33. And I get it. We have work to do when it comes to enrollment. And I think we should keep these services and keep these vendors and continue to invest the money because we're not selling a product, we're not selling a phone, we're not selling a widget. We are providing a service. But if we do the math and we take the dollar amount of 1.4 million in grant money that we are going to be spending and we divide it by the 33 students that are using the service, it's $43,571 per student. But again, that is not how we should be doing the math. Am I correct or not?
You are correct. Remember, WIOA, and I can get the information, but it's over a period of time. That's not just for 1 year.
Correct. It's over a period of time. But even if we did, I'm going to just, and I'm going somewhere with this. Hold on.
No.
If we were to divide it with the highest enrollment number that we've had, which is 120 students back in 2015, I think, which to me was still very low. But if we divide that amount of $1,437,862 by 120 students, it would still be $11,982 being invested into students. But we shouldn't look at it as per head because it's a service and we need to continue. And if we can expand on these providers, I would like to see more. But more importantly, I would like to see that our enrollment numbers increase because CDL, there's a huge increase right now, which is why everybody's backed up when we don't have enough products because we supposedly don't have enough drivers. And there's more reasons than that. But I'm going to support this. I am going to vote in favor for it, but I wanted to do the math for a reason because we're not selling a product. We are offering a service to the community, and these are services that are much needed. And our students are going to gain skill sets, and it's going to help us with retention. So I wanted to point that out, and thank you for responding.
Sure. Another great thing about WIOA, and the state determines which of our programs, including our credit programs, that they will support students in. And I believe it was last year, I could look up the date, added medical assisting to that too. So they'll pay for our credit students, pay their tuition, pay for their uniforms, pay for their books. And so we keep a lot of our students that get WIOA funds are credit students. So what might help, and I could get it for you, is to get a complete expenditure of what we're doing with our WIOA funds. I know on the response that you got, it was specific to those vendors, but there are more vendors. I mean, we're actually a vendor because we are serving some of those students.
Correct.
Actually, the majority.
How often do we get this grant?
We renew it every 3 to 4 years.
Okay. So we're going to get, hopefully, maybe when we renew, we might get the same amount or more or less. We don't know.
We don't know. Usually it's about the same. It depends on who else applies for it, but most schools apply for it because it's a great grant.
Okay,
And-
okay.
And did you say that it was for medical assistance?
Medical assisting students can get WIOA funding.
And then I'm going to ask this question, anything with regards to respiration therapy?
I do not believe respiratory therapy is a WIOA approved program. I can look into it, but I don't think it is. Nursing is not either.
I didn't think nursing was,
Yeah.
but I was wondering if respiratory was.
I don't think so, but I can look it up for sure.
Okay, thank you.
But just to be clear, WIOA is a grant that we receive from the government, not a program that, and that grant helps us to support various programs, but it's not an expense to the college. This is something that we apply for as a grant because we like to support our unions, basically. I mean, a lot of these programs go into union work. So, and this is something that is not an expense for the college, but this is us approving a grant so that we can continue to support these programs, educational programs, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gray.
Thank you. And just so you know, we'll gather all this information and I'll share it with the full board once we have it together, so. Mhm.
All right. 4.5.
But we need a vote.
Can we,
Yes, please, Joe.
Garcia Guillen,
yes,
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
yes.
Broderick,
Aye.
Budzinski,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. Now 4.5.
Do you mind if we go to 4.6 first? I think that one might be quicker. The discussion might be quicker.
Okay.
Is that
All right with
okay?
me?
Attorney Carl?
Yeah, you can do it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, for the 4.6 is, we're being asked to purchase machinery for agricultural machinery, 2 virtual reality simulator systems, agricultural sprayers, and compact track loaders.
I think you pulled the wrong item. 4.6 is respiratory therapy variable tuition rate.
Hold on, 4.6. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong one here. Okay, I'm sorry. I turned to the wrong page. I pulled so many of them. Okay, 4.6 is the one we're pulling, right? Yes. Okay,
Uh-huh.
hang on. Okay, you're right. This is a new program here for our college for the respiratory therapy program. Okay, so we're being asked to consider a differential tuition equal to double the in-district tuition. Correct?
This is comparable to our nursing programs, culinary CTE with high cost equipment. to
Okay.
run.
My concern with that is that right now for fall enrollment, we're only at 20 students.
This is
Or no, that's the goal, to enroll 20 students. Sorry.
correct. This is a brand new program. We're waiting for HLC accreditation before we can roll out.
So once we have the accreditation and we roll it out, I guess I don't understand, why is our goal only to attract 20? Is that a minimum, or?
It's not to attract, and typically it's tied to all of our clinicals, and we have a max that we can accept in each of our classrooms, similar to sonography, so it's not unusual to see these in our medical profession courses.
So is 20 the max that we can accept?
20 is the max, correct, right now, Dr. Gray. And honestly, we have hospitals that are very interested in that, but again, for the most part, it's our clinical sites that present that challenge to increase the amount of students.
And our clinical sites are they in addition to hospitals, or are we only working with hospitals for this program?
Dr. Gray, I'm going to have you speak specifically to that. I can speak to the hospitals. I can't go beyond that.
So 20 in the inquiry, it was how many are we expecting? We're expecting 20 in this very first cohort. As Dr. Mitchell said, we have to get HLC accreditation first, And actually, they are having a hard time finding a team to come do our visit. We were supposed to have it last month. So we just today got notification that they have found a team and they will be here in April. That report, when they do a site visit, would go to their commission meeting, which is in June. So that'll give us for June, I think it's the middle of June. No, June 23rd, 24th. That'll give us just a little over a month to recruit. So if we are able to draw 20 students, eventually we hope to have cohorts of 30 to 32, but that will depend on our clinical sites. And most of our clinical sites are hospitals. There are some, this program also has a programmatic accreditor, and they have guidelines of how many you can have in a lab and all of that. But the clinical sites, unlike nursing where they can take a group of 8, most of the sites will take 1 or 2 students. It's more similar to our sonography program or radiography. So we need more sites because they take less volume. But we can never enroll more students than we have sites to put them at. That would be a huge liability.
Correct. Thank you. But okay, here's my next question. So I understand the variable tuition. I understand that we charge different tuition for different programs. We charge a certain program for nurses, certain program for culinary arts major, because I think the idea behind the differential tuition is that when someone graduates in their respective field, they're going to earn X amount of dollars. But there's no guarantee they're going to work in that field
No.
or that they're going to get a job in that field.
The other component, though, is the cost of the equipment. The cost to purchase the equipment for health professions. If you recall, the cost of our city center campus for culinary, it's the equipment is where those costs are, actually come into play. And that is one of the foundation considerations that we have when we looked at the cost for the tuition and the variable tuition. So we did that when we opened the new health professions building. We rolled that out for the nursing courses, not gen eds, just the courses specific to that discipline.
Okay.
And then, the same for culinary arts.
Okay. So the students, when they enroll in these programs and they declare that that's their major, all their gen eds are going to pay the regular tuition. But when they get into these specific courses, that's when they're going to pay the differential tuition. Okay. Thank you. And then I know you said we have to get HLC accreditation first. But you mentioned we're not going to start recruiting until we have a month to recruit. Can we start marketing the program? No, we can't even do that. Oh, wow.
HLC does not allow that.
So we can't even put on our webpage that we are anticipating having this program? No? Okay.
No, but there are things that we can't. I know where you're going, and it's a good idea.
Right, but as an FYI, I'm going to share this because I'm at Silver Cross for respiratory therapy. They know that there's going to be something coming out of JJC. It's all around. And there are students that are waiting to get into it. So it's a high demand.
Right.
Because they are low on respiratory therapists. And I know that from personal experience that they really need at least, they said 10 more with Silver that they need desperately.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this is a high demand. And I know the CEO from Silver even said that too, that respiratory therapy, they can't wait. So I think the CEOs know about it from Amita and from Silver and from the Morris Hospital, from what I understand.
Right, because as we've been building this program over the last almost 2 years now, we have to contact our sites and say, we are anticipating building this program. Can we count on you to be a site? Dr. Mitchell and I have met with Ruth Colby. They're even offering some tuition reimbursement for our respiratory students.
Mhm.
And they want to know, when's your first graduation date? So we've also had advisory board meeting already where we bring in people from the industry and talk to them. So they know that we're building it, but we cannot advertise that we have the program until they have that June meeting, their commission meeting.
Okay. All right. You might want to stay there because my next, we're going to vote on this, but my next question is gonna be more towards you.
Okay.
So I don't have any further questions on that topic. Can we do a roll call?
Can we do a roll call?
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Roderick,
Aye.
Medzinski,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. Next.
Going back to, would you mind if we jump to 4.7? That one's pretty quick.
4.5.
Or Which one did I pull?
4.5 and 4.7. 4.7, you'll want to talk to Dr. Gray.
That's the one I would like to discuss
Okay,
now.
4.5, I can talk to that.
Yeah.
4.7, okay. So,
We need a motion.
sorry,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
And a second?
Second. Okay, so this was regarding the course fees that you're asking for us to approve. And after looking at all of the course fees, I know these are already in place. My question comes to, and maybe it's something I didn't notice before. I mean, I'm a student here, but I never took a music class. So I didn't know that they had like $240 for a course fee. But I think in your response, you said this was more for like a one-on-one instruction. So wouldn't that be more like tutoring?
No. So when a student signs up for that specific class that you asked about,
Right.
it's almost like an independent study. So it's one faculty member working with that person for voice lessons, for violin lessons. But that fee, I followed up with Fine Arts just to make sure what else did it include. It also, instead of having a book, they have electronic books. And that included, and some assignments and classroom materials that are included in that fee.
Okay, that was so it's not that course music 0.255 or whatever the number was. It's not where they have like 10 students in a classroom. Okay. Okay, that's what my question was. So thank you for answering. I don't have any more questions on that topic.
More like an independent study then,
It's
isn't
like
it?
an independent.
It's an independent study then,
Great.
It's almost like a private music lesson.
right?
Yeah, but just from what information we were given, I needed a little bit more information. So that's fine. We can take a roll call on this one too.
4.7, with a roll call, Joe, please.
Morales,
Yes.
Roderick,
Aye.
Kaczynski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Gray.
Thank you, Dr. Gray.
Now we're at 4.5.
So moved. Second. Discussion. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so there's a recommendation for an additional tuition increase for $3 per credit hour, correct, Dr. Mitchell?
Correct.
Okay. I think since you've been our president, this is the second, if this is approved, it will be the second tuition increase.
The first one was when we had the challenge with the state funds and we had increased tuition and then we had the tuition reimbursement
For some students, but the increase stayed to this day
for
new students.
for new students.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
But we have not had a tuition increase now in the last 3 years, I believe. So.
Right.
Mhm.
Correct. What I struggle with is that when the college is having a financial hardship, colleges rather, universities, many of them have hiring freezes, many of them have furloughed staff. We haven't had to do any of that, and I'm very happy we have not done
We
that.
have had to do that though. We've had contingencies in the past where we've held over $1 million, $2 million on hold and we could not release that until the funds became available.
Correct, but nobody lost a job.
Correct.
Right. That's what I'm going. That's where I'm going with this. So we can sugarcoat things, but the reality is nobody's lost a job here at this college, which I'm in favor. I don't want to see people lose jobs over this. Okay, but a lot of schools, people have lost jobs at other schools, and when things get tough, I know with my business, I know with my home budget, I have to cut back on expenses, or I have to work maybe to pick up a second job and increase more revenue.
Mhm.
Here, our students are the ones that if we can increase enrollment, if we can not so much work harder, but work smarter at how we message our courses. Since COVID started, COVID forced the college to go into offering many different type of platforms, many online. The types of jobs in surrounding the college have been warehouse jobs, and they are being worked. People are working at these jobs. Many of our students work at Amazon. Um, these jobs offer 24/7 schedules, so many students are working midnights, and so we've accommodated a flexible schedule so they can work a midnight job and still be able to take their class, whether it's virtual. At one point, it was only virtual. Now they have a lot more flexibility. Considering that we just went on to offering multiple platforms because of COVID. I would like us to delay this tuition increase and give students more opportunities so that we can continue to market all of the different platforms that we offer to increase our enrollment. Because if we increase enrollment, we will increase our revenue and there will not be a need for an increase on the backs of students again. That's where I sit. I don't know if anybody else has any would like to have discussion on this.
Does Jim from Finance want to say anything?
Well, if you remember in the presentation from the Finance Committee, if we don't do this, we're going to fall short each of the next 3 years. So if we don't increase the rates now, in 3 years, if we do not get the enrollment now, we're looking like a $14 or $15 increase. And do we want to spring that at that time? The people who would benefit it are the people that are in school right now. The costs exist. The funds aren't going to change. Enrollment could change.
But that's our job to recruit. That's the college's job to market. And we offer a lot more different platforms now that we didn't offer before.
Right, but we still have the contingency of what happens if we don't get the recruitment. Then we're running a budget shortfall, which then carries into the next year. And you can't just keep cutting to make up for budget shortfalls if that shortfall is increasing every year.
What about the surplus?
The annual surplus is one time, if you recall. That's not a reoccurring revenue source.
It's explain more what you mean by one time.
So when you have your surplus at year end, that's typically transferred to O&M restricted to allow the college to utilize those funds in specific areas or
Operations.
specific needs. One time, operations, correct, one time. So the premise behind the $3 tuition increase is to allow us to create that ongoing revenue source to support the new positions that I had mentioned in my presentation. That first of all, we want to roll out some new athletic programs that has a cost associated with that. And then those programs will help hopefully generate enrollment. We're looking at high schools for the matriculation rate. We're looking for the sports and the teams that they have that would, I don't know if you were here last month, but Athletic Director Braun talked about how all of their meetings have been going very well because students typically may not come to Joliet Junior College because we don't offer bowling or golf or men's volleyball. So that was an investment there. The other ones that I spoke to were new positions to help support our students. So whether it's, we looked at within disability services, we're looking at mental health and wellness for our students and our employees. So those are critical positions that we're looking at investing in going forward. I don't know if I appreciate the sugarcoating because we don't sugarcoat. I mean, I have been honest and upfront with the board from day one. We have those conversations ongoing. We have had significant and sizable contingency lists over the past several years, typically because of the uncertainty of state funding. So those contingency lists are on hold. We have, over the years, we have reallocated positions. To this day, if we have someone that has a vacant position, we look at that position to say, is it currently needed?
Right.
Can we move that into a new discipline? We talk about decisions not only within the division, but cross-divisional. We have those conversations ongoing as a cabinet, as the finance team. So much like, Trustee Budzinski shared, and we talked about this in the finance committee, we've talked about this with the board at meetings and at retreats. If we keep pushing this down the road, there is no guarantee what tomorrow brings in enrollment. I can tell you that I am extremely proud of the work our team is doing, the faculty, we're reaching out. The foundation has supported over $800,000 last year in scholarship funding. We have $200,000 in student emergency funds. We have CARES funding. We're doing everything we can, but we're challenged with the out-migration. We're challenged with people students who are just deciding to stay home right now. They're undecided. We know we have childcare issues. We're looking at that. We also have competition within our manufacturing, within our partners, that some of these organizations are having their own internal training. And that's the purpose of my outreach, going out to them to say, how can JJC provide that training for you? And then encourage that enrollment for those students, employees to then continue though. We talk about stackable credentials. So get that certificate, but then come back to Joliet Junior College and take those gen eds and continue to advance your career. So I struggle because I have not taken the increase in tuition lightly. We've talked about this at length. For one student taking 15 credit hours in the fall, it's $45. And I think about our students all the time. I understand their struggles. They talk to me, the team talks to them. We understand that. And that is why I'm so proud of the work that we can do to say that even though they'll have that increase, we have got financial resources to support them. But until we can guarantee a reoccurring revenue to support these new positions, we're gonna struggle. And we do say, I mean, where there are positions that we don't fill every year. We have over $1 million, $2 million in surplus for positions that have vacancies for a while until we fill them. We've been creative with converting some of our part-time, taking 2 or 3 part-time to create a full-time. Those conversations happen ongoing.
Correct. And I know the staff did an amazing job at all the different platforms that we offered to go virtual when we were informed about COVID. And so because we are offering more virtually, that's what I'm asking, that we reconsider tabling the $3 tuition increase, maybe for 1 year. And then
if I may,
Sure.
I just want to say that I also appreciate all the hard work that the college does, Dr. Mitchell, and I think that you have done a phenomenal job. I kind of want to direct, I have a question for Trustee Lozano. But before I ask that question, I would just like to state that I do think that $3 as a tuition increase is reasonable to keep us out of debt. And that, as you have stated already previously, Dr. Mitchell, that, a lot of our funding, we are unsure of state funding and we cannot necessarily depend on those things. And to be responsible so that we're not leaving the future of this college to be in debt and not be able to fund the amazing programs that we want to continue with. Trustee Lozano, do you think that it would break your back to pay $3 extra per credit hour, which if you are taking 5 credit hours is still less than $50 for the 15 credit hours? Do you think that that would be reasonable for students and parents to, under $50 per semester, under $100 a year, so that our college does not go into debt and that we can be fiscally responsible? Do you think that that's something that's reasonable?
Before he answers that, it could be double. It would be double if it's a differentiated tuition.
Chairman Dan, can you please ask Trustee Morales to allow Trustee Lozano to answer the question?
He can answer the question.
Thank you.
So I can give you the student's perspective specifically. Now, the parents, that's a separate thing, but I can give you the student's perspective. Now, in talking with fellow students on this topic, I brought this back to student government, and I told them the reasons. I gave them the breakdown, and a lot of them kind of were on the same page. They were like, I don't think $3 is a lot. I don't think this will deter people from coming to JJC, and them personally, they felt that it wouldn't either. Me, I don't feel it as much either. So, like I said, I giving the student's perspective, I would say no. I don't think it'll deter anyone from coming to JJC. And like I said, I did speak to student government about this, and it was majority rule on it, and they were in favor.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the hard work that you do and that you do bring these things, because we really need the input from the students. So thank you very much.
Okay. But like I said, that's just the student's perspective. I cannot speak on a parent's perspective because I'm not a parent. I'm not a parent trustee. I'm a student trustee. So that's just the student's position.
Well, parents usually make more than students. So if it's not going to deter a student who is on their own and having to pay for things on their own, and they wouldn't be deterred, I'd assume that a parent would support their student and be willing to pay the $50 extra if they're taking the max of 15 credit hours. So thank you so much for your input. I really appreciate that.
All right,
No
good.
problem. You're welcome.
So they might pay the $50 extra, but if it's a differentiated course, it's going to be double. That's what I wanted to mention, that if it's if it's in the variable tuition, they need to consider everything, that it could be double, and many parents can't afford it. If you look at how many FAFSAs are filed every year, we have a lot of students. I'm not sure what the percentage is. I don't know if Dr. Farmer knows what the percentage of students we have here that receive FAFSA.
So in terms of students completing the FAFSA paperwork, you have thousands of students that complete the paperwork.
Mhm.
In terms of awards,
Correct.
Pell Grant,
MAP.
MAP is 24%.
That are high need students. Correct. So, and it's going to affect their families because the FAFSA is based on the parental and student income. And we're assuming that parents are affluent, and many of our feeder high schools, students are getting free lunch because they are high need schools. So I get it. I'm not saying, all I'm saying is let's wait a year before we make this vote. That's what I'm saying. To give all of the excellent work everybody did over COVID in offering a bunch of new platforms that offer outside of traditional classes where students don't have to come here, they can do it virtually. They have more access now to come and take their courses. Do I want to see the college in debt? Absolutely not. But even when Governor Rauner had stopped paying everybody, including schools, we still survived. We managed through it. And eventually, yes, we were refunded when they were able to. We still survived. I think we've seen what the worst is that can happen. We've survived it. And what I'm saying is that because we do have so many new platforms available, that we give that a try, that we continue trying that and working more creatively before we jump into a decision and vote on it today.
Well, I
That's
would
what
like
I'm
to
saying.
mention the call for a vote. It is on the agenda to call for a vote, and I think we've spent enough time talking about it. So in the essence of time for everyone, can we please vote and move on?
Is
Something to add as
somebody else has something to say, Trustee Lee?
I'll go ahead and add. So for this particular item, I definitely share the concern of Trustee Morales as well, of adding additional burden for parents. Even though it's $3, it would add up. So that might be a negative impact in terms of our enrollment if parents are struggling. Again, we're looking at different types of students that might be struggling to pay that difference. Again, $3 just by itself, it doesn't seem like a lot, but whenever we're looking at adding it up over many credits, it can make a difference for our students.
I'm going to add something too.
Go for it.
In regards to the National Legislative Summit, both senators, U.S. Senators Tammy Duckworth and Richard Durbin, it was addressed to them about, since they're from Illinois, about the tuition increases because of the enrollment situation. It's across the board, all states, they're all familiar with enrollment being down. All the schools, as Durbin said, $3 is not much at all. And if we're looking at it, if you're looking at $15 an hour, 15 semester hours a semester, that's times 3, it's 45. He and Tammy Duckworth said it should not do any damage to continue with all the funding that they've been providing to us. He said this is not going to hurt students from coming on to community colleges, because community colleges are the answer to the students getting education. And I'm going to support the $3 because, as Jim has said, if finance is supporting it and they're saying what could happen, if we do get the enrollment, if it does increase because of the respiratory therapy, we can come back and we can do like we did before, where we gave them debit cards if we want to do something like that. But I think in order to keep the college and what is going on universally through all 50 states, and all of our Illinois legislators agree, all of our Illinois ICCTA members said everybody's increasing tuition. $3 is a small piece, and I'm going to support it.
I see that, but again, enrollment has been down and we struggle with enrollment. So we're going to raise the fee. And do we really think that we're going to get more students with more expensive courses, more expensive tuition? I just really struggle with that. And I'm asking for us to wait at least 1 year.
But when
That's
we
all.
wait a year and all of a sudden we have a budget shortfall, what do we do the next year?
What we did when we didn't get the money from Governor Rauner. We do the same thing we did then. We didn't get millions from
Cost,
him.
cost of the outside cost of running this college continue to increase. I mean, we have a snowplow that takes fuel.
Correct.
3 times as much as it did last winter. All the
Absolutely.
costs are going up
Yes,
for the college.
yes.
The answer isn't to cut, and the answer certainly is not to avoid paying bills, which is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying avoid paying bills. Did
Well,
we
we
avoid
have-
paying bills, Dr. Mitchell?
No, we do not.
But if we don't have the tuition increase and we have a budget shortfall,
We
you're
won't.
asking about cutting.
We,
Cutting is
we've-
the same thing as not paying a bill. You also mentioned earlier that how important it is for us to have services.
Correct.
So as you cut staff, you are cutting some kind of service on this campus.
We're not cutting any service. Did we cut services last time when we had the budget shortfall, Dr. Mitchell?
We did not cut services. We held a contingency list, like I had mentioned.
Right.
Call to the can we call the question?
Yep. Made the motion.
There has to be a second for
You want to second it?
Second,
vote on that. You call roll call vote on the call for the question.
Thank you, Joe.
Broderick.
Aye.
Kaczynski.
Aye.
Garcia Guillen.
No.
Lee.
Yes.
Lozano.
Yes.
Morales.
No.
And O'Connell.
Yes.
Okay, so the debate ends on the call for the question. That's the procedural matter, and now the vote's taken on 4.5 on the motion and the second.
You had the motion, now we just need to vote, right?
Yes, correct. There's been a motion and a second. You've had your discussion. Call for the question ended the debate. Now there's a roll call vote on 4.5.
Thank you.
So we didn't vote?
You just voted on ending the debate. There was a call for the question and a second on that, which is the ending of the debate. And that passed.
Oh, so we should have voted yes for that then.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you wanted to end the debate, yeah.
Okay.
So now you're voting on 4.5. Do you want to have 4.5 or not? Okay? Thank you.
Go ahead, Joe.
Garcia Guillen.
No.
Lee.
Yes.
Lozano.
Yes.
Morales.
No.
Broderick.
Yes.
Kaczynski.
yes.
And O'Connell.
Yes. All right. 5 is student development, no action required. 6, new business, 6.1.
All right, I'd like to ask Dr. Farmer, and Jim Sir will join her eventually to provide you an update on the KUDO options, which was discussed at last month's board meeting. Dr. Farmer?
Hey. All right, thank you, Dr. Mitchell. And once again, good evening, Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
So
Good evening.
Jim Sir and I have completed some additional research to support your goal of making truly an informed decision regarding KUDO. So next slide, please, Jim. So to summarize your request, I will share our current accessibility accommodations that we offer students and parents related to our support services. I will give you examples about financial aid and also about scholarships. And then finally, Jim will share just some additional information of the number of users since going live with Microsoft Live event and virtual teams. And I do want to stress to the board today that although Jim has communicated this time after time to the board, but we have not been able to holistically capture all the data. I just want to stress that today. But moving forward, we will have a better strategy, and Jim actually will share that with you today. Next slide, please, Jim. So per your request, currently for our students and specifically our parents, we host a lot of large-scale events, what we consider our recruitment events through admissions. And I will use Discover JJC as an example for us today. So for admissions, as I mentioned before, we do utilize ASL interpreters. That's something that we continue to practice at the institution. We also have informational sessions provided in Spanish. And to give credit to Kelly, we do offer a Spanish version webpage and also chat options. And this is true for financial aid as well. Again, we do offer ASL interpreters, financial aid workshops that are provided in Spanish. And most of our marketing materials, most of all of them, are provided in English and also Spanish. And I do believe you wanted additional information regarding the support services that we offer in the classroom. So we do offer accommodations for students. We spend on average about $140,000 a year specifically for students in the classroom for ASL interpretation support. We also have what we call our speech to text software. And we just invested in a wonderful software that was supported through HSI funds and also HERF. And that is our Kurzweil 3000, which converts text to speech in over 18 different languages. So of course, that's it's a wonderful resource that we provide our students. And then finally, in the area of student support services, just wanted to share a little bit more information. I believe I mentioned this to the board in the past that in 2020, we did introduce our Spanish hotline. That is definitely tied to our welcome desk and also the switchboard. So if someone calls in, they would like to speak to someone, they can select that option that would like to speak to someone who speaks Spanish, and we provide that type of support for our students, including parents. And since this is a new initiative, we continue to track data in that area. In fact, in November and December, we had over 252 students that utilized the hotline. So that continues to be a significant success for us. And then finally, we do offer online math tutoring 24/7. We call that Smart Thinking in different languages. And of course, you know, for our testing services for ESL, AccuPlacer, ED, HiSet is also offered in Spanish. Okay. So at this time, I would like to turn the presentation over Jim, who will revisit some of the information we discussed in the past, just to make sure that the board members are, again, well informed. And then he will talk a little bit about the costs associated if we move forward with involving and supporting student support services as well. So Jim, please. Unmute yourself, Jim, please. Thank you.
Of course. Leave it up to the IT guy to do that. So thank you, Dr. Farmer. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell, Board of Trustees. Just going back, hard to believe we started with this presentation in April of last year, but just as a matter of a quick refresher, meetings have been supported both virtually and on campus since the beginning of the pandemic back in April of 2020. We're utilizing Microsoft Teams technology for the Board of Trustees, cabinet administrators, and invited speakers and guests. We also provide a call-in number for the public to call in to our meetings. That call-in number and the meeting conference ID is on our agendas, which are in both English and Spanish. We are also live streaming our board meetings now through Microsoft Teams live event. Viewers can select closed captioning in 7 different languages, again, via that live Teams event that is auto closed captioned in the 7 languages that you see there along the left. We had also introduced an American Sign Language interpreter at a cost of $40 per hour to our board meetings as well. You'll see the Spanish version of our agenda down there with the link to our live meeting as well at the bottom of this slide. Just a quick picture of what that Microsoft Teams live event looks like with the Spanish auto closed captioning. We're doing more than that, of course. Our board meetings are recorded. We do post-production on those recordings and then post those to our JJC YouTube page. Prior to COVID, those recordings were distributed to a variety of media outlets throughout our district, but during COVID, we have ceased that activity, at least for the time being. Again, our board agenda is posted in both English and Spanish on the college's website. Kelly Roeder and our social media folks do a great job in posting and encouraging board meeting attendance on our social media outlets. Those posts are translated in up to 111 different languages. We have also introduced a few months back live translation and closed captioning in Spanish through a third-party service. A live operator remotely views our live stream of the meeting, listens to the meeting and then translates from the meeting audio. That live operator utilizes software that translates what they speak, and that is published to a website URL that is made available via a separate link for our Board of Trustee meeting viewers. Current cost of that service is about $390 per meeting, and that's for a 2-hour meeting. Our meetings on average are running longer than 2 hours, so we are spending currently more than that $390 per meeting for that third-party service. So just very quickly, what that looks like, that is a separate link that we provide, both the live meeting itself, video, as well as the live Spanish translation and captioning on the left there. This is kind of a representation of what that looks like. So summary of costs, which we've talked about in the past. With all of the things that we are providing, we have a phenomenal media department and support team. At the beginning of the pandemic, we had about 3 technicians supporting the meeting. Over time, as we've added more services and more accessibility to our board meetings, we are now up to 5 staff support resources that support our meetings and the variety of technology that we employ to make our meetings efficient, but also allow our viewing public to experience the meeting in a variety of formats. That live Spanish translation and captioning, again, the data there, we only get that data live in the meeting. So for tonight's meeting, we've had a maximum of 9 viewers of that live translation and caption in Spanish. At the start of the meeting, there was about 4 viewers, and then once the meeting kicked off, we got up to 9 viewers maximum. I think currently we're sitting at 8 viewers of our live Spanish translation and caption through that service. We do not have historical data for those numbers. We do not have reporting capability for those numbers. The third-party service that we use to provide this capability does not give us the ability to access those numbers on a historical basis or report on them as well. It is specifically within the live meeting, our team is able to see the number of viewers live, and then I can report that during our meetings. We know that it's about an average of 10 viewers per month for that live translation and caption service in Spanish. Down in the bottom, we talked about Kudo at the last meeting. We will have the ability going forward, if we do agree to move forward with Kudo, we would have the ability now through that integration from Kudo to Microsoft Teams, which would be a separate meeting link that we would publish. But we would have the ability, the team has done a great job. Like I said last month, if you ask me that question, can we track it next month? I would probably give you a different answer. I'm here tonight giving you a different answer because we have a team that listens to these meetings, listens to the questions and the enhancements that are desired and the data that is desired. And if we were to employ Kudo through that integration, we would be able to track that usage through a monthly attendance report through that Microsoft Teams integration. Again, this is only if we decided and voted to approve the procurement of Kudo as we go forward. So you saw this slide at the last meeting as well. Based on the Kudo Pro, that would be $23,750 per year. That would support 100 cumulative hours of use, up to 500 users, 50 hours of interpretation services, which is a total of $11,500. That breaks down to $230 per hour for that live interpretation service. And again, when I reported this last month, this was only for the purpose of our monthly board meeting. So if we go to the next slide, which is our last slide, and we look at the expanded use or potential expanded use of Kudo for campus-wide use, so extending beyond our monthly board meetings, like was asked at our last meeting, we would have to bump up our annual subscription to the Kudo Pro Plus subscription. That would give us 300 cumulative hours of use of the platform, up to a max of 1,000 users. Our annual cost there then increases from $9,000 to $24,000 annually. As part of this package, they quoted 6 packs of those 50 hours of interpretation services for a total of 300 hours and a total cost of $69,000 of interpretation hours. We could consider scaling that back. So instead of 6 packs, we could take that down to 2 or 3 packs and reduce the cost associated with those interpretation service hours. The onboarding and training is a one-time expense that would stay the same. But for this package, the total we would be looking at would be just shy of $100,000 for the Kudo Pro Plus subscription. The recommended use, if we were to expand it for campus use and to support students, would be for student support events and activities. This would not be intended for academic course support or in-class use to support our students. And so with that, Dr. Farmer, I believe that was my last slide, and I will conclude my presentation and see if there's any questions.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Thank you. So first, thank you so much for the presentation, Dr. Farmer and Jim. I really appreciate this additional comprehensive overview of things that we have already talked about, as well as new things for the expanded campus use. And also thank you, Jim, for your wonderful team. Right now you have 5 staff support that are helping, correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. My question is for Dr. Farmer and Jim. In your professional opinion, would it be beneficial to have to use technology like Kudo or any other software to help the community members and students? Would that be beneficial?
Well, utilizing technology would always be beneficial for students. I will tell you, as Dr. Mitchell mentioned, we've done a really good job investing in technology at the college. And I see in the near future with Workday and other initiatives, we will continue to scale up. Now, as I mentioned in my presentation, we do have a lot of support already in terms of support services with technology. So I just wanted to stress that as well. It is really up to the board. It was Jim's and I's goal to really provide you information so that you can make that informed decision.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thank you again for all the information that you provided. We have been talking about this for a long time already. So the first time that we brought this to start the conversation, and again, thank you for your wonderful team on putting information together. I think we started in September of 2020. And then last month, it was the first time that it was brought to a vote, which is good, but disappointing that it took that long to get to a vote. And now you guys have already done your job. The president has done her due diligence, the cabinet and the IT department. So now it's up to the board members to actually do our job, and we have failed in the past. Last time we just tabled the proposal, we didn't do actually anything. So now we have the option, and we do need to take action instead of just pushing it down the road and making, again, it's money, but we're using it, it's a service that we're providing to community members to engage the students. Again, we don't have a lot of participation at the board meetings. That's something that we need to increase. It could be due to numerous reasons, but if we're able to offer the board meetings in not only Spanish, but all their languages, it would be really beneficial for community members, the students, parents. It could potentially help with engagement and down the road, definitely recruitment of students if they know what's going on and all the different wonderful services that we have available. So I know that we're not going to vote on it today because it's part of the new and old business, but I definitely think that we need to actually make a decision for next board meeting and vote on this.
I have something to bring up regarding this. So, Dr. Mitchell, we won an award for DEI.
Advancing diversity, yes.
For advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, right?
Well, the title is Advancing Diversity through the American Association of Community Colleges, but it's all inclusive, correct?
Correct. Diversity refers to the demographic makeup of our workforce. Equity refers to the level of access to opportunity. And inclusion refers to how welcoming an environment our JJC fosters. That's inclusion. I really hope that this award that we got has significant qualitative and quantitative merit. Because if we are, every conference we go to, even the conference we went to in San Diego, the topics were diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think because of the civil unrest that this country has seen over the last couple of years, I think college campuses is where students are given the opportunity to get to know each other, challenge what's being taught, ask questions in the classroom, and learn. This is where we break cycles, a lot of cycles of poverty. This is where a lot of change happens. And if inclusion is culture, it's an approach to workplace culture. I don't know how many board members are first generation. I'm first generation, so I understand what my generation, my father has gone through to come here, and I understand I'm a bicultural, a multicultural person. So I understand, I can see things from different lenses. Being bilingual has been difficult, or for my parents not understanding English has been very difficult. My father just passed away about 5 months ago, and when we were in the hospital, my sisters and my mother, the doctors came in and said that they did all they could, but that he did not survive. My sisters, became very emotionally upset. I think I was in shock. And my mom looked at me with a blank look on her face, and she said, "What did he say?" And I had to sit there, and I realized she didn't know what he said. I have to tell her that my father is dead. That was very difficult. But that was the last time I had to translate for my father. But I still have to keep translating to her. But and it happens at doctor's office all the time, where moms are diagnosed with breast cancer and they bring in their little 10-year-old daughter. The 10-year-old has to tell the mom she has cancer. The 10-year-old will many times know before the parent knows, or the child, because that's very common. Inclusion, again, is an approach to the workplace culture where it is up to us as the leaders. We have to set the culture. And if the culture doesn't exist in this boardroom, when will it exist? If we don't have it here, if we don't manifest it here, we have to manifest it. And we have to defend the moral value of maintaining linguistic diversity through cooperation. It's an ethical aim of cross-cultural exchanges. Language also involves values of identity. For that reason, and I understand there's a cost. Real quick, so we have many faculty on this campus that are paid at least $100,000 a year, correct, Dr. Mitchell?
I believe so, yes, I don't.
Yes, and I've seen it, and it's public knowledge. We can all look it up. All the salaries are public knowledge. If we have one faculty member that is paid $100,000 a year, and let's say they have a very good sized classroom of 20 students in their class, okay, that means that we are spending $5,000 per student. That faculty salary, if you divide it that way, which is not the way we should be dividing it, okay, because we are not paying faculty sometimes we pay them out of grants, many times we don't, okay? But it's a service that we're offering to the community. And if you look at the last census, can you share, Dr. Mitchell, what did the last census say about our diversity, the 2020 census? I know you mentioned it briefly in a conversation at one point. The census numbers are showing how the demographics are changing, correct?
Correct.
The 2020 census. I think we need to pay attention to the county, the census records that we're given. And we as a board, I would love to see again, from an ethical perspective, cooperation in making this investment. So I would like to also request that at the next board meeting that this gets back on the agenda and that we really take a strong moment to take a look at it and reconsider making a vote next month.
This would be for the expanded, correct?
Correct.
Expanded for campus support. Thank you.
Thank you for the information you provided. And I'm going to come in a different perspective. It appeared at the last meeting that we didn't have services. I think you've documented that we have all these services, that the person that got up to speak, who's in her second year, didn't realize we had that. So I guess I'm confused as to where, if the services are here, we've got them, we've got a lot. I'm 20 years as a board member from my previous and this one, and attendance at board meetings, never do we ever see parents or students at them because it's board stuff. It's board approval of minutes, approval of this, approval of that doesn't interest them. If we have 10, and Jim has said that there's no more than 10, this is an expense to me that I think if we really have someone that wants to come, and I've talked to Jake, we could set it up on our agenda that if you would like to come, we could have a separate room set up with one of our interpreters to interpret for them, which would be far cheaper than this whole program. That to me, after 20 years of not seeing many people at a board meeting, and I mean, students don't really come to these meetings at all, parents neither. The only time they ever come is when it's a tuition issue, and we have 10 people tonight. The agenda was posted. I don't see any parent or student out here in the audience. My concern is, both of you ladies said no to tuition increase, but you want to do this.
Yes,
And I'm still talking. I still have the floor.
we understand that.
If you are negating the tuition increase, but going for something that is for basically a real small minority, and we have the services already here, and it's basically only for a board meeting, I have a problem with that, because if we're in for student support, you should have voted yes for the $3 tuition, and then this would not even be a consideration. But you voted no. We have the services Dr. Farmer and Jim Sir has identified that was showing last time that we neglected, and I want to say that it showed that we neglected. And I didn't think we had, because I picked up the phone and started calling the different departments to find out, did we have services? And we do. And for you guys to say that we don't offer anything, we do. And the YouTube, I mean, we've got the YouTube with all these different languages. I look at the sign language. If we have the sign, I mean, we're doing the sign language for what, 6,400? Was that what I saw? 6,400? If we have YouTube and we're doing the sign language, do we still need the sign language if on the next day the YouTube's put up in the language? Because if they can't hear, how can they see the sign language they could read? So I'm having a problem with what you two are trying to bring to the board when we really have the services here. And that's where I sit. And I don't know if anyone else has any comments.
I personally believe, this is Trustee Lee, that we offer a very wide variety of services. I almost like your idea, Maureen, about bringing in a live translator and having them in a room next door, and that being more cost effective. You know, with us, you know, with all of the financial difficulties that Illinois is having right now and the cost of everything going up, I personally do not think that it would be financially responsible for us to enact a program when we already have services that cover this issue. And I also was disappointed in the way at the last meeting at how the whole topic was presented, as if we do not offer services for live translation at the board meetings. That was completely unacceptable. We do a lot for our community, and I have personally spoken. My daughter's godmother is Puerto Rican, and her family does not speak English. and they live in our district. And I went and I conferred with them and I said, hey, you know, this is the situation. These are the services that we offer. You can read it in caption. And would you like would you be willing to come to board meetings? Would it, you know, get you to come to board meetings if we had a live translation service? And they said no, and that they weren't going to come even though we have this, because that's why they elected me. So I think that our community has a lot going on. Most people on Wednesday nights are at church or at games for their children, at sports games for their children. And that is one of the main reasons that we have probably a low attendance, if anything, is because people trust us and elect us for a reason so that they don't have to sit through 5-hour board meetings. If it was, we have plenty of services for translation, and I think we do a great job at offering in person, on the phone. If you want to talk to a live person, we offer those services all throughout our campus for various different things. And I think we're amazing for it. And I'm happy with the services we offer.
Again, inclusion is an approach to workplace culture. It starts at the top. Equity is how we get there. Cooperation is an ethical aim of cross-cultural exchanges. And I still, Miss Maureen, I'm still talking, please. So yeah, I still support it. And again, this makes our college board look really bad.
What gap are we not filling? Where is this going to plug a hole? That's what I'm confused about. We have all the services. You guys are telling us we're marginalizing a part of our community. Who are they? And what services do we need to provide that isn't already being provided?
Translation at the board level.
It's available. It's available. You just had a presentation that told you it is available to anybody who speaks Spanish to watch it. It's not that we are keeping it from it. It's available to them.
A reminder, we're not making it accessible. And it's not only Spanish, it could be multiple languages. We're not making it accessible for community members.
It is accessible. What is the difference of just a different link on there? We have a link. They will still have to go to a link. There's no difference of what you're asking for and what's already being provided.
I disagree.
For 10 people, I just don't see a hole that we're plugging for $100,000 over 2 years.
We pay $100,000 for a faculty member to teach 20 students. What's the difference?
Those are students in a classroom being educated. This
Correct.
is a board meeting that provides no education to a student. We don't have students.
It provides information to the community and to the parents and the students.
Again,
This is very valuable information.
Where is the hole we're trying to plug?
This is very valuable information that we are providing to students, to community members, and to the parents.
All right, well,
You can't answer the question of what hole we're
I
plugging,
answered the
then
question.
there's no reason for the software.
I think I think we've got to the point here.
Dr. Farmer.
So, this will all continue, but it's not going to be tonight.
So my request is, do we place this on the board agenda for a vote in next month or not? That's what the direction that I
Do
need.
we do a consensus, Carl?
Well, it's going to be before the board one way or the other. It's the chairman's going to set the agenda. So I think what the president is looking for is some direction, because there's two different proposals as I understand it. I just want to
Right.
be clear for the agenda. If there's a proposal, I believe Trustee Garcia Guillen was saying that it was the CUDO multilingual meetings expanded for campus use
Correct.
proposal that she would like on the agenda, which is the one that Trustee Budzinski referenced, which is the, and I'm just generalizing here, approximately $100,000 proposal.
Correct. Correct.
So if that's the chairman's direction, then that would be on the agenda as an action item for next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know that both Trustee Garcia and Trustee Morales said they wanted it. I don't know where Trustee Budzinski and Trustee Lee stand.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
We're not there yet.
Okay, just asking.
We're not voting. It's just going to get on the agenda for next week, for next month.
Next month.
So add it to the agenda for next month.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we got 6.2, model standard, code of behavior updates.
This one I will defer to Trustee Lee and Trustee Morales. This was a conversation out of the Board Policy Committee meeting.
In the
So-
front of our board books, basically, we have two separate documents, one that is a model standards and one that is a code of behavior. And so what
You simplified it.
we simplified it and made it one list. So we wanted to run that past the board.
So now we just have one document.
Okay. All right. 7, new business, first reading of board policy 7.1 to 7.5. No action taken.
Can we discuss it?
You can assess it if you want to.
7.2 and 7.3. If you go to those, and I'm bringing this up because I did address it to Dr. Mitchell. I'm still concerned about some of the language. I really don't like the topic when we say fringe benefits, but I guess that's what it's identified and labeled as. But I guess I'm concerned about tuition waiver for credit classes for employee and eligible dependents. I think that should be spelled out, as you have done so graciously in your email to us, in regards to it being 1 year and what the repercussions and eligible dependents, is that their children only?
Maureen, which specifically?
It's 7.2 and 7.3.
Yeah, what?
It says tuition waiver for credit classes for employee and eligible students. How long are they eligible and how many hours can they take? And the grade, I don't see any of that in there as far as more detail into it. And I'd like to see as a trustee more detail so that it's not a questionable item that the employee can question. I think it should be identified as to what the requirements are.
And 7.2 and 7.3.
Yep.
So just more specific spelled out.
More spelled out.
Okay, we can look at that and bring that back. We can bring that up to the policy committee and bring it back next month.
Thank you.
I believe it's also for the spouses, right, Dr. Mitchell?
Pardon me?
The spouses and the children of the employee,
Right.
right?
So that's what we're talking about, for the
It's for the spouse
employee
and
and the children. I think the children are up to age 25 or 26, Dr. White, 26. But we can spell that out.
But as long as they're single though, because if they're married, they're not eligible.
Correct.
All right, on to 8.0.
If you don't mind, I wanted to just give an overview of what each of the policies are when they're coming up for first read. Next month, we will be approving them on the second read. So I just wanted to do a quick overview on each of those, if that's okay. So 7.1 is a request for public information and inspection of college records. And it states that the Joliet Junior College complies with the terms and provisions of the Illinois Freedom of Information Act to maintain transparency and accountability. The biggest change is that we removed the name position that reports to the president in the event that that position changes. 7.2 and 7.3, we will now be adding more changes to those. Thank you, Maureen. The biggest change was that we added Juneteenth as a national holiday, paid holiday. 7.4 scholarships and awards are just the suggested guidelines, or the biggest change there was the suggested guidelines for scholarships were removed. And as this is more of a procedure, that's more of a procedure issue. And 7.5 environmental health and safety, we condensed a paragraph to avoid repetition. And it's self-explanatory, kind of. The scholarships and awards and environment, health, and safety are exactly what they state. Thank you, Dan. We can move on now.
All right, thank you. Now we're at 8, old business, second reading, board policy. 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5. is to be no action taken. Do we have any comment? If there's no comment, then there's no action taken. So we're down to approval of the third reading of board policy, consent agenda, 8.6.
All
We
approved.
already approved.
Those are all approved under consent.
That was on.
All right, good. Then we're down to 9 reports. JJC Foundation report.
Christy Mulvey is with us virtually.
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone. I have a short report. I want to report that, as you know, we had our JJC annual sock campaign. This year's socks were tie-dyed. They were very popular because we sold out the first week. We sold all 250 pair. And we raised $3,500 for our alumni fund, which goes to scholarships. I'd like to remind all of you that the Night of Stars will be held on Thursday, April 28th. It's going to be at the Renaissance Center. I think it's really important for all of you trustees to be present and thank all of our donors that have given so generously to help our students this past year. All of our $5,000 plus donors will be in attendance, and I think that's a great opportunity for all of you trustees to be able to greet them individually and thank them for their support. Several awards will be given out, and the one specifically I'd like to mention is that the foundation is excited about is Dr. Judy Mitchell will receive the Distinguished Alumni Award. Award Spring, which is our scholarship application system, has gone live on the JJC website, and we are definitely seeing an increase of students applying for scholarships for the fall semester. The foundation executive board meeting was held at 7:30 this morning, and a presentation was given on our investment portfolio at Northern Trust. The next foundation board meeting will be a full board meeting and held on March 16th at 7:30 a.m. That's the end of my report unless anybody has any questions.
No questions. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Always a great job for the foundation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
9.2, representative of ICCTA.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about the National Legislative Summit that occurred in Washington, D.C. on February 6th through February 9th this past month. There were 700 community college leaders that attended it. Low attendance due to the COVID issue, but there were some key things that happened there. We chose to stay at home due to our legislators holding virtual meetings in DC. We took the opportunity though to meet with them virtually with our legislators here in Illinois. Dr. Mitchell, Kelly Roeder-Tonelli, David Lozano, and myself were able to meet with Congressman Bill Foster, Congressman Kelly, and Underwood virtually. The ICCTA had a joint virtual with the U.S. Senators Tammy Duckworth and Richard Durbin. And I'm going to just give a little bit of a background of Durbin and Duckworth, and Dr. Mitchell and Kelly will give the background of the questions and things that we asked during the conversation, as well as David. So David, entertain whenever you want when they get to that part of the discussion. Durbin and Duckworth are very engaged with us about short-term Pell Grants, the DREAM Act, the continuation of the DREAM Act, job training programs with internship and relationship building with our businesses, the Back Better Act, handling of the CARES Act money. They wanted to know exactly how we were doing. They were asking us a lot of questions. And we were also talking about tuition increases with them, which, as I had mentioned earlier, they were all right with seeing a small increase. They didn't think that that would deter people from coming to the community colleges. On the first day of the conference, we had, it kicked off with First Lady Jill Biden. And she was emphatic, stating that the Biden administration will continue its ambitious efforts to support community college despite legislative setbacks. She says, we are not giving up. The president said, or the president, she added, is keeping his promise to rebuild our middle class, and he knows community colleges do just that. Returning to the National League, the NLS, for the second time in as many years, Dr. Biden recalled saying in 2021 that Joe was going to fight for community colleges. She noted that the American Rescue Plan and the $1 trillion infrastructure bill signed into law last year provided billions in support to community colleges and created new opportunities for the workforce training. Workforce training was a big issue and big discussion issue. But with the administration Build Back Better package stalled right now and free community college eliminated from the proposal in the fall, Biden also spoke to her own experiences teaching in Northern Virginia Community College, stressing the disappointment she felt on behalf of her students, as well as the need to continue advocating for students. She's a big student support, and that came across in all of her speeches that she talked about. Later, the U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona pledged to continue support for tuition-free community college. He said he's going to continue to fight for that. He urged that community college leaders make most of their time advocating with legislators, which is what we did do by virtually talking to ours. Everyone in DC should know a personal story about how the American Rescue Plan helped community college students, because you're going to tell them, he said, if we don't lift up the stories about the students, the families, the economy we're benefiting, all we're going to hear is the negative. I need you to drown it out. And he was very emphatic about drowning it out. He also emphasized the access to higher education prioritized by community colleges as compared with some selective four-year universities, that chastising each other, ranking, and moving affluent students from elite high schools. We need to do that. On Monday, we were briefed on the sector's legislative priorities, and Richard Torres, CEO of the National Student Clearinghouse, outlined how changing enrollment trends during the pandemic speak to broader workforce changes. He urged community colleges leaders to partner with the emergency ecosystem of short-term credential providers and join state efforts to define the P20 workforce pathways that we've been talking about with our legislators. And on day 2, as I shared, the U.S. Labor Secretary Martin J. Walsh spoke. Representative Richard Neal from Massachusetts received the National Education Service Award. Bryce McKibben, he won the Government Relations Award. And what Secretary Walsh told us was that the community college sector will play a critical role in the Biden administration's effort to expand career pathways, including new opportunities for women, minorities, and rural communities. Community colleges are essential to our administration's vision of building a more inclusive economy. Walsh described Boston's Building Pathways pre-apprenticeship program, which has provided more than 600 people with careers in the building trades, as one model for the department's efforts, which are focusing on extending apprenticeships programs to a broader range of industries, which you'll find came up through our discussions with our local legislators. While the administration Build Back Better agenda has stalled, Walsh stressed the importance of support for community colleges at all levels. Investments have to happen in community college, he said. The task we have in front of us can't be done without them. And Dr. Mitchell, I think you have input that you and Kelly would like to input. And then when you're done, I do have some follow-ups with the ICCTA.
Okay, so we all met, and as Trustee Broderick said, that we had great meetings with all of our congressmen, congresswomen virtually. So, and for all three, for Congressman Foster, Underwood, and Kelly, we had very similar conversations. We asked them for their continued support of the Build Back Better Act. Congressman Foster and Underwood, we worked with them for many years, and the conversation is always very positive, and they've been extremely supportive of not only the community college system, but Joliet Junior College as well. So the first of the three that we had the focus on was to enact the community college priorities in the Build Back Better Act to support our dreamers, and to enact the DREAM Act to give dreamers permanent legal status. Congressman Foster spoke so highly of that and how his commitment continues and has since he was placed in office. We mentioned to him that JJC student population, we currently serve 29% of the Hispanic population. In 2021, we opened the Center for Multicultural Access, so we were sharing some of our highlights with him as well, that we serve our minority students, our first-generation students, undocumented students, and our English language learners, our underprepared students, and international students. Within the center, we provide one-on-one meetings with our advisors, financial aid and transfer assistance, student learning and leadership skills, and free tutoring, advocacy, and enrichment activities, which they were all extremely pleased to hear about the services and the commitment that JJC has to our students. The next area that we asked them to support is to authorize the Community College-led Job Training Program Fund that links training to jobs. We talk about this every day, just at the cabinet level throughout our community. The pandemic's massive economic dislocation has exacerbated the need for a dedicated community college job training program that integrates institutional programs with business and local workforce needs. Excuse me. While today's economy still has millions of jobs available for qualified applicants, colleges continue to lack the funding to adequately address this situation. Community colleges call for an investment that builds on the demonstrated success of the Trade Adjustment Assistance Community College and Career Training, or TACT grant program, which tightly links training programs to jobs. The Back Better Act will provide $1.2 billion for the TACT program and create an extremely important $4.9 billion community college industry workforce training program through the Department of Education. Our third priority that we spoke very highly of and asked for their support were, again, the Pell Grants for students in our short-term workforce programs. Currently, a program must be 2/3 of a year in length to qualify for Pell Grants. Community colleges offer many short-term, workforce-oriented programs that provide great benefit to both individuals and local businesses. However, these programs cannot be accessed because of cost. The Pell Grant eligibility for short-term programs should be established with quality standards set in place. To achieve this, the community colleges strongly support the Jobs Act. The Jobs Act would lower the threshold for Pell Grant eligibility to 150 clock hours and therefore enable more individuals to access training programs for jobs in high demand fields. And Kelly, I don't know if you would like to come to the podium and just share a little bit more about, our conversations. Thank you.
Absolutely. I have to say you've both been so thorough, so I don't know how much else I can add. But what I do want to just acknowledge with the board is that we are going to be redistricting. You're all aware of the census count. And so one of the kind of bittersweet moments of our meetings with our congressional members this past week was that we acknowledged that Representative Foster will no longer be in our district. And he has truly been, and he will continue to be, I think, for the state of Illinois, a major advocate for education and specifically for community colleges. And so, again, even though we're not in district anymore or won't be, he'll be a wonderful advocate for that. And I want to just remind you all, based on some of the relationships we've been able to cultivate with these legislators and their commitment to community colleges consistently, Congressman Foster took not one, but two of our students over the last 5 years to attend State of the Union addresses in Washington, D.C. And so he's been incredible. We're looking forward to, with the shift in districts, we'll be have more coverage with Congresswoman Underwood. She's been to our campus before. She tested out our virtual reality equipment in the nursing program. That's actually her occupation. And her enthusiasm and vigor in our meeting last week was incredible. And she has a lot of community colleges that she covers, but looking forward to working with her more.
She does. And just a little added note to Congresswoman Underwood. It was so funny. We were in the meeting, in the large group meeting with all, with our colleagues. And she brought up the fact that our HR department and their outreach for jobs, actually, she received an invitation to teach at JJC as an adjunct instructor. So your marketing initiatives are working, and we're reaching out to our legislators as well. So great job, Dr. Whitehead.
And the nice thing too that she mentioned too, Underwood mentioned, I think it was Underwood, was regards to township funds that are available that I think we're going to be inquiring into and getting the formalities of what we can ask for, because they got additional funds. We were made aware of that by Senator Underwood, and I think we need to pursue looking at what is available that might aid in being obtained through the higher education community colleges.
Yeah, it was a general ask. She was kind of asking us how we were implementing our CARES funds, and many of us had similar stories to share, but she had asked us to consider going to our counties and our township districts to see if they had indeed received funds and had they been distributed, and just as potential other outcome or income sources.
Yeah, for support. Thank you. David, do you have anything to add? Because you were very instrumental in being a student and giving your student position, so please share.
Well, thank you. Yeah. No, I thank them for their support. I also just gave a brief summary because I I will talk about it in my report, but kind of what students are struggling with at the moment and anything they can do to help would really benefit us. Again, I'm not trying to give too much because my report says it all, but I did mention things like that. And yeah, I was gonna say they covered it all, so I don't know how much more to say, but it was a very good opportunity meeting them. I've never met them before, so it's kind of cool to meet them. For me, I see them on TV, I see them on the news, but I never get to talk to them. So it was a very great opportunity. So I appreciate that.
Great, thank you, David. All right, back to the ICCTA. We do have just some updates. March 11th and 12th is the ICCTA quarterly meeting in Peoria. If anyone wants to attend, please let Joan know. And on March 23rd to March 25th, there's a Governance Leadership Institute strengthening the leadership team of your board. And that's at the Community College of Philadelphia. It's for board chair, vice chair, and the CEO of the college. So I'm throwing that out there as an opportunity. And then we did have an ICCTA meeting that gave us some updates as to what the bills are, House bills, Senate bills. If anyone wants a copy of all the higher education ones, I'm going to provide this to Joni, and she can provide you if you wish to ask for it. But it tells you all the House bills and all the Senate bills that are up that have been provided by our liaison with ICCTA. And February 18th, the House Committee has deadlines for key sessions. February 25th, the Senate has a third reading deadline. March 4th is a House third reading deadline. And that will be inclusive too in the report that I will share with you. There's a COVID update, and I think you're all aware that there has been a decline in the state's COV. The COVID-19 hospitalizations has been faster than at any point in the pandemic, nearly a 25% drop over the last week. This was brought to our attention. Statewide indoor masks expires February 28th with exceptions. That's on this report too, that can be provided to all of you. And then Municipal League proposes funding increases, permanent remote meetings, so that we can continue the remote meetings, and that was part of what was brought up too by ICCTA. I will provide this all with Joni. If anyone wants a copy of it, please email her and ask her for it. And that concludes.
May I ask a question, Maureen? This is Michelle.
Sure.
You said that the event is March 23rd through the 25th.
Yeah, that's for the board chair, the vice chair, and the CEO of the college.
We have just a conflict of interest. We have the finalists on the 23rd and the 25th. Just thought I'd throw that out there in case anybody wasn't thinking about that.
I know. I'm aware of that. The 25th has been canceled out, just so you know, because of changes in the presentation. So the only date that would be the 23rd that we'd have to look at.
Okay.
Okay.
And,
But thank you.
And thank you.
Any other questions or comments? With that, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. 9.3, Student Trustees Report.
Hello, my fellow trustees. It's been quite a meeting. So yeah, let's get started. The semester just began, but I have quite a bit to share with you today. So let me get right to it. Let me just share my screen here real quick. And yes, this is the life of a college student. All these windows open. Go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple things today. So I'm going to go over Black History Month events, Mlk Events, Main Street Spring 2022, Student Government Update, OSA free meal kits and JJC Eats, blood drive, and survey results. Ooh. Okay, so for February, that's our Black History Month events. We have a couple things. We have the American Red Cross blood drive, which I'll also talk about. A gospel choir performance that happened. Step Into Your Greatness, African Bazaar, Dinner and a Movie, Black Perspective series, Mirror Mirror on the Wall. Black Student Union presents Do It for the Culture. DuSable Museum Field Trip, Scholarship Workshop, Black Perspective Series, Family Values. And then in March, we have a couple other things coming up. The Black Panel for Excellence, and the Black Alumni at Work virtual panel. So very exciting events coming up. And some of them have passed already. So excited. Hopefully I'm going to attend some of them. My schedule's just been super busy though. I'm on campus 4 days a week now, and I work. So hopefully I can get a chance to attend them. We also had some Mlk events that happened. They had a comfort zone where they actually talked about the history. They had, I believe they had someone from the Joliet area, like the museum, come and talk at a virtual comfort zone. And then on Tuesday, the 25th, they had an online event, but the Other Boys of Summer. And then on January 26th, they had an ICC SAA speaker, Clint Smith. So those are kind of the events that happened for Mlk. And then something big that just happened last week, Main Street. As you all know, Main Street is kind of the large recruiting event clubs and organizations have on campus to recruit more people, get more students involved in their club. So this happened February 9th and 10th. It was in the CE concourse, that concourse with all the flags. As you can see, let me move you guys down. There you go. We have disability awareness right here. This is actually some student government members talking to Dean Zuccarello. That's Josh Rodrigo. That's me right there. We got Amy. And then we have Prosthetics, Orthotics Prosthetics Student Association. So I was able to be at the student government booth, talk to students, help recruit for student government, and yeah, enjoy the time, talk to people. It was a real good event. I thought it went really successful. You know, it's been a while since I felt a Main Street feel like it did before the pandemic, but this was pretty close to it. So I was really happy and pleased with that. And then student government update. Okay, so we have a couple things going on right now. Our biggest thing that we did a Cleared For PSA to educate students on how to use the Cleared For system when they enter campus. And you know, and on a daily, I go into campus. Like I said, I'm on campus 4 days a week. On a daily, I see people, you know, not being able to get onto campus because they didn't even know Cleared For existed, or they don't know how to use it right, something like that. So student government was like, hey, let's, you know, try and educate people. And that was kind of the idea behind the PSA. So we did this kind of skit where we're, you know, a new student doesn't know how to use it. And I come in, I do the acting. So if you want to see my wonderful acting skills, coming soon. But I did the acting for part of it, and the president, Mansi Patel, was the other actor in it. And Hank helped us film it, and Josh, he did the voiceover for it. So that was kind of our big project for end of January, and it went well. It went well. I think we did it in about an hour and a half, so it really didn't take too long. So yeah, hopefully we can spread more awareness about Cleared For. So as you can see these pictures, here I am. There's Hank, there's me, there's Monsi, and then here's the little student government e-board kinda. And like I said, all about helping students understand the Cleared For process. The other thing we're working on is, and this is I can announce this. We are part of the presidential search. So student government is currently working on questions and organizing a committee together in order to help form an interview committee. So that's all I'll say on that. They're very excited for this opportunity, and I think we'll provide a very good perspective, a good something. I would say a good perspective for us as the Board of Trustees to look at in terms of the students. That's one thing I will say. I've been on a number of search committees, and I will say, you know, I'll be in a search committee with staff and faculty, and I'll see the interviewer or the interviewee in one way, and then when they're in a group of students, they'll kind of be a different way. So I think it's very good to see how candidates interact with students, just students. So that's something cool we're working on. We have more ideas coming up, but again, those are about our two main priorities right now. We're very busy at student government. We actually recruited quite a bit of people. So we're very excited, and our next meeting's tomorrow from 3 to 4. like I said, we had our blood drive February 1st, and then we're also going to have a blood drive April 12th. You can sign up with this link right here, create an account, and then if you need any more information, you just contact Steven. He's at OSA. And yeah, it's usually in this area, the Center Bridge, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So yes. Okay. So then we also have our OSA free meal kit. Recipe for December is hamburger casserole. Again, feeds 4 to 6 people, pick up on main campus. One thing I will say, this is the last one because we have something brand new and exciting. JJC Eats. So JJC Eats. As you all know, the College Community Survey of Student Engagement, the CCSSE of 2021, saw that 25.7% of students did not have enough to eat for the month, or 24.1% had to cut back or skip meals due to funds. So this JJC Eats program was kind of formed, and basically it's open for everyone. It was funded by CARES and HERF, and basically you'll have coupons that are on posters all around campus, and you can get up to $10 worth of free food on main campus, and you have the option of getting 2 coupons a day. So it's pretty cool. Patty Zuccarello was kind of the leader of this, but she had a bunch of collaborators from all around campus helping her out. Like I think it was like 30 or more people actually helping her out with this. And I'm actually going to go get a meal tomorrow because I have a long day tomorrow. But just to give you a little bit of statistics, 1,500 coupons were distributed last week during kind of like the Main Street kind of event. And then 300 were redeemed, 8 were redeemed last Monday, and 100 were redeemed last Thursday. So again, this is brand new. This is still going on. This is going to go up until May. And kind of to, again, help people with, if there's food insecurities there. Again, JJC Eats, no one goes hungry at all. So again, in order for these students to access the coupons, they're on these posters all around campus. From what I've been hearing, the posters that have been getting the most attention are the ones by the cafeteria, which makes sense. And every poster comes with instructions, and then I'll kind of show you. Here's the actual coupon itself, and it shows you instructions. So it says on here, meal of the day. So there's 2 options. Some days it'll be, $10 of the student's choice in food. Other days it'll just be a meal of the day, and that's the meal you go with. But like I said, it's a great program going up until May. And like I said, I was pretty impressed with it when I heard about it over in Main Street. So here's something big I want to present to you guys. I didn't tell you guys this last time. I'm so sorry about that, but I was currently working on it. I didn't want to give out anything. But I actually released a survey in order to gauge how students are feeling. So the purpose of this survey was to gauge the needs of the students at JJC to present to all of you and to illustrate possible areas that, we may need to address. It was launched January 28th. It ended February 14th. And I used the platform Microsoft Forms. And I had 207 students answer it, just to let you know. So this is based on that number. So this is just kind of to gauge what students are taking, how they feel about classes. So the first question was, what type of classes are you taking now? So online, 36%. Again, this is out of 207. In-person, 27%. Hybrid, 22%. All of the above. So a student was taking all 3, 15%. And then what type of classes do you prefer? So this one, I kind of expected this, but, even in the times where online is majority, people still prefer in-person. As you can see, 40% said in-person. Online, 28%, not bad. Hybrid, 19%. All of the above was preferred by 13% of the students. So that was just kind of to gauge how people are feeling about online classes. So clearly people still are preferring the in-person, but that's okay. We're getting there. But this one really was a surprise to me. So I asked, what personal, academic, or professional challenges are you facing while taking classes? As you can see, I have a couple options on here. I tried to cover as many bases as I could, but the biggest 3 are financial, mental health, and work schedules. So I was very surprised on these 3, but at the same time, I kind of wasn't. But like I said, there are still issues. There's internet access, childcare, caregiver, computer access, food insecurities, which hopefully JJC Eats will help with that. Academic support and work schedules. Sorry. So as you can see, these, I would say, the main three that JJC students are facing right now are financial, mental health, and work schedules. Those are the main three students are struggling with right now. Now, the next question on my survey was, how have your classes been so far? It was out of a scale from poor to excellent out of 5 stars, and our average rating was 3.95. So that's pretty good. And I also asked, do you feel diversity, equity, inclusion are priorities at JJC? So I went through it. This was kind of this was actually an open-ended question. So you could say yes, write me a paragraph. You could say yes and just send it. It was up to you. So it was an open-ended question. So I went through all of them, and about 76% said yes. And specifically, the themes I found were disabilities. A lot of people with disabilities felt pretty welcomed and supported by disability services. People felt that DEI was promoted quite a bit on campus. People, and I found this word in almost every paragraph I saw, was welcomed, and it kind of ties into the next one too. What people felt welcomed by the staff, faculty, the services on campus. People were very happy with them. So welcome-wise, people felt relatively welcomed, and we have a nice staff and everything like that. But there was one thing that came up, as you can see. More diverse staff and faculty. So I saw that pop up more than once, and I thought I should put it on here. But that was something those are kind of the main themes I saw throughout the whole 207 responses. And then my next question was, do you feel welcomed and supported on campus? 64% said yes. So some themes I saw were a lot of older students said they felt welcomed, and they, because and a lot of the explanations were similar to, they haven't been to school for a while. They're coming back. They're with a bunch of younger people in classes, but at the same time, they felt pretty welcome. They didn't feel odd in any way. Again, I got a very big number of people saying welcoming staff, faculty, and student body. But with this one, I also got a huge number of people with COVID fatigue. A lot of people just tired of the pandemic and the restrictions that come with that. But I did get a lot of people saying JJC has helped them continue their journey, giving them a lot of options, whether it be online, in-person, hybrid, to help them continue their educational journey, no matter where they're at in their life. So a lot of people said that. And another thing I saw was a lot of teachers are being supportive and teachers are easy to contact. So that was really nice to hear. And then my final question for my survey was, is there anything else you would like to share with a student trustee? And this one actually overwhelmed me in a good way. I had paragraphs on paragraphs of people just venting to me. And again, that's what I wanted. I wanted perspective. I wanted people's view on how everything was going at JJC. So I went through them, I read them all. And again, these were kind of the main themes I went through. So online classes, people are kind of, some people are kind of struggling with the online classes, whether it be tech issues, glitches, they don't know how to use iCampus, their online class setup is weird, and they're just kind of confused about online setup. Financials was a huge one. Some people were saying, oh, I can only take one class a semester because I can't afford it. A lot of people were big on the financials. I saw quite a bit of people saying how expensive it was. I also saw, and this was a bit surprising too, it kind of ties into financials as well, books. A lot of people were saying the books were really expensive. They wish there was alternate ways of getting the books where they wouldn't be as expensive. I saw quite a bit of comments about books, so I thought I should mention that. But yeah, like I said, as we all know, books are not cheap, so I know that for sure. And yeah, like I said, people were talking about books a little bit, so yeah, hopefully we can look into that. Work schedules, again, a lot of people were just saying, oh my God, I'm so busy. I have school, I have work, I work full time, and I have to keep up with school. It's so hard for me. Thanks for reaching out. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad we offer a lot of online options because I'm guessing that kind of helps with the work schedule people. Again, still, I know there's still, because I work too and I take online, so I know it's still not easy, but again, it's probably better than having to come back and forth and drive around a lot. But still, I understand, man, you know, it can be challenging to do online and work full time. And I got a lot of mental health. And again, this kind of went both ways. A lot of people said, you know, online classes have been good for their mental health because they haven't had to go on campus or travel. Others have said their mental health was kind of drained because they haven't left the house. So a lot of people were saying that. But again, people are struggling, not going to lie. There's a lot of issues, whether it be personal, academic, financial. There's always something going on. But I thought this would be very useful to share with you guys, just because it was quite overwhelming how many responses I got. But again, that completes my survey and that completes my report. Is there any questions?
David?
Yes.
Where does the funds for the JJC Eats come from?
CARES and HERF, from what I heard.
Pardon me?
CARES and HERF.
CARES
This was-
funding or her funding?
Okay, so that's where it's coming from, CARES funding?
Mhm.
That's good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, hopefully we can there was still food insecurities. There was still quite a bit of people that answered that. So hopefully we can kind of close the gap on that. Hopefully fulfill that need at JJC with JJC Eats. I thought like I said, I thought it was a great program.
So they
yeah.
got 1,500 tickets. Is that coupons? Is that what my understanding is?
Yeah, they distributed 1,500
Okay.
last
Are
week.
they going to be distributing any more, or is that the max that they're going to do?
No, this continues on until May.
Okay.
Mhm.
We have the funds in the CARES Act to do it? Okay. Good, thank you.
David, I have a question for you.
Yes,
You said there was 200 and how many students?
207.
Okay. I don't know if I missed it, but I don't know if, did you ask these 207 students or did you inform them how they felt about a possible tuition increase, or did you just go to the student government?
I just went to student government with this issue.
Got it. Okay. I think it would have been nice to include something like that on a survey like this, just to get a better, clearer perspective from a wider sample of students. That's just a thought, but thank you for answering that.
Yeah, no problem.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, David. You did such a good job. I mean, the amount of time that it took for you to even go out there, put together that survey to see how your students feel about our students feel about our school. You know, I really commend you on all the initiative you take in your position, and I really hope that the next trustee we get is just as dedicated as you. So thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
David, thanks a million.
No problem. I got you.
9.5, 9.4, Buildings and Grounds Committee was canceled. We do have the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting summary points. They're all printed there. Everybody's got a copy. And so that's that. 9.5, Board Policy and Committee Report. Ms. Lee and Ms. Morales.
I believe Trustee Lee, pretty much, we kind of already discussed that and went over all of the policies. So I don't have anything further unless Trustee Lee has anything she'd like to add.
I do actually. So the reason I first I wanted to ask how everyone felt about me explaining the policies during the first read, so that by the time we get to this, we can pretty much only cover things that we need to talk about. Is that okay with everyone? Did you like how I did that today versus saving it for the policy review?
That's fine.
I just want to state that next meeting, we will be going to 2 reads. There will be quite a few things on the approval agenda due to that fact. So just one more heads up on that. The biggest thing that I want to talk about and get a consensus from the board during the policy meetings, we are trying to decide for the meetings of the board, and we were discussing, a time limit possibly on topics and things like that. And so what we had talked about was possibly, per Robert's Rules of Order, the way that it is supposed to go now, technically, is every member would get a certain amount of time to speak about the topic that is pulled from the agenda or that we have pulled to discuss. And then every member would then get, a certain amount of time to rebuttal, and then we would table the topic. So there were discussions about, so my feeling on this and what my suggestion and I think would be best is if we did adhere to that, and that we started to have a timekeeper at the meetings. And so for, if something is pulled, if we want to discuss it, you would have 5 minutes to state your opinion, your position, and on the topic, everyone would go around. You can either pass your beginning time or you can state your opinion. You don't have to use the full 5 minutes, but that's what you have. And then you would have, and then everyone could go around one more time and you would have a 2-minute response. We have had very lengthy discussions on topics. Even with this would still, with 7 minutes per trustee, if every single trustee utilized their time, we would still be at an hour per topic. But I just feel like this would at least keep more structure in our meetings and to help it go a little bit more smoothly. So if everyone is okay with that, that's what we were discussing, is to kind of put some time limits on that. The other thing, so I'll first, before I move on, I guess I'll get any comments on that part of the board meetings policy.
Well, that's part of parliamentary procedure and the board to adhere to. The chair has the call to order to let each and every one speak. So if you're following that, that's a good habit, because we do get where everybody just keeps talking and talking and talking. And it's supposed to be one person at a time. And then if the chair wants to recognize someone after everyone has had their first turn, then it's up to the chair to decide what he's able to do. So if that's going to be brought into policy, that would be great.
So basically what it is a timekeeper. So the timekeeper would say, okay, you've had your 5 minutes, and then we would move on to the next person. Right now, we don't do that. And as board members, it's hard for us to keep track. So we were thinking maybe the secretary could be the timekeeper and then politely tell the trustee, your time has expired. And so that would basically implementing a timekeeper and a 5-minute state your position and a 2-minute rebuttal, if everyone is okay with that.
Fine.
Okay, and then the other thing that we had talked about to deal with this same issue was, should we allow a majority vote to extend the discussion? And Carl had said that he does not believe that that is a good idea. That could allow for a filibuster where we are not able to move on to other agenda items. I agree with him, and I think that if after the original 5 minutes and then 2 minutes, we would then either table the item for the next meeting or so on and so forth. And so that is my recommendation, along with from what Carl has explained to me. So just so that I'm clear on this policy and what we're trying to do with it. Any questions, comments? Okay, as long as you're okay with that, then we will be putting this into action with the policy committee. The only other thing I had to say is, Maureen, we talked about, you asked about adding, possibly the institutional procedure number. We decided instead of adding it to the board book, where we're going to send out a confidential memo, and it will have the institutional procedure with the board. I don't know if it was going to be, Judy, if you want to correct me if I'm wrong, if it's going to be with the board meeting information so that we can look it up and have that week to look it up, or how exactly we were going to do that. But you would have the institutional procedure ahead of time is what we were thinking, so that if you wanted to look further into that policy, you could. But if we put it in the board book, things could get really lengthy. So are you okay with that, Maureen, if we started to send out a memo with the institutional procedure and listed next to the policy?
I think that's good because I think what we're looking for is something so that we can look at it and find out what the current procedure is. And if there is a procedure for it, then, and it's addressed, we don't have to go back to Dr. Mitchell and ask her for anything more.
And now if that goes out in an email, Dr. Mitchell, are we able to just click on the institutional procedure? Would that be able to happen? Yes or no?
We can look at that. You do receive, there are multiple handouts that you receive in the board book. That one is not, but we can look to see if we can turn that into an electronic component of the delivery.
I think
I'll
it
look-
might be advantageous to us as trustees, so we don't have to, clicking
Mhm.
would be nice. That was one of the other things.
Right,
so.
we can do that. We can send it out as a separate attachment with those links.
Okay, I believe that is my update for the policy committee at this time, unless there's any other questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. 9.6 Financial Committee Report.
We've only met once since the last board meeting. We had a, strong presentation at the last board meeting on the finances, but we met quickly this week just as a kickoff to begin the process for the audit that'll take place later in the year. I have nothing else to add, sir.
Have you selected a new audit team?
No, we're at the very beginning of stages and haven't discussed it yet.
All right, thank you, Trustee Brzezinski. 9.7 President's Report.
Okay, so half of my report was delivered earlier, but I'd like to just highlight some of my community outreach over the past month. I have met with James Walker from Amazon. Amazon, if you recall, has given $50,000 to the college for books and student emergency funds. And James has offered to schedule a tour with our team to support all their employees. So when we talk about enrollment with some of our corporate partners, we'll be bringing a team there to see what we can do to bring JJC to the Amazon facilities, both in Joliet and our Romeoville campus. I also met with Pete Colarelli from ExxonMobil, and as a reminder, the ExxonMobil has given to the foundation in excess of $190,000. And then Jen Hannon from Citgo, and their total give to the foundation is over $353,000, and they will be recognized at Night of the Stars. So if you recall, the purpose of these meetings is for me to just share my appreciation to each of these leaders in the community, and really just showing how grateful we are for the scholarships and the money and the opportunities that it provides to our students. I also met with the Grundy Economic Development Council, Nancy Ammer, Lyondell Bazell, and member in Aux Sable. Our Dean Zuccarello, Jeff Bradford, Dr. Bradford from our technical department, and I met with them to talk about OET expansion and the continuation of our program and how we can build those partnerships and internships for our students. We also met Dr. Farmer, Dr. Gray, and I met with Mayor Chris Brown regarding our Morris expansion opportunities. There's some new growth in Morris, and so we talk about how we can better serve that community with whether health professions or some of our other programs within the CTE areas. Kelly Roder Tonelli and I met with Mayor Argodelis of Plainfield. He was a great mayor, just new. We have not met him, but he provided, at the end, he wanted to invite us to a future meeting to share with their partners in their community. And what he really embraced was our university partnership concept. So I think that's going to be the emphasis and the focus of our visit out there to Plainfield. Bless you. Dr. Irvin and Roxanne Venegas presented JJC's DEI presentation to the Will County CED Board of Directors last Friday. They did a phenomenal job, and all 50 plus in attendance were impressed with the college's accomplishments. Roxanne will continue to work with our local vendors and partner with the community to support training opportunities for all of our MBE, WBE vendors as always. So thank you to both of them. The Will County Board hosted a higher education and workforce meeting with an emphasis on creating collaborative partnerships to meet the needs of our community. If you recall, the county received $134 million in CARES funding with plans to create a strategic vision for usage and support for all partners. So I'll be working with 3 teams addressing teacher shortages, healthcare workers, and looking into business incubator models over the next couple of months with a goal to submit an inclusive and visionary proposals. Last Friday, Dr. Farmer and I drove down to ISU to visit our newly appointed president, Terry Kinsey. Dr. Kinsey and her team were wonderful hosts and planned meetings with several of their departments. sharing information about transfer and reverse transfer opportunities for JJC and ISU. Dr. Farmer also coordinated the virtual attendance with our JJC staff members to participate and again discuss and share events and opportunities for our shared students. We were pleased to see on a report how well our transfer students do as compared to other community colleges, and we found out that our highest transfer program is actually our ag program for ISU, so it was a great trip. And then I want to close out real quick. I'm going to call Kelly to the podium. Kelly has been actively working on the calendar, so we talked about the engagement with our trustees out in the community. And so I have the draft calendars that I'm going to pass out while she talks to this. And what we're going to ask for is the board to look at this, jot down which events you're interested in, return those. And so Kelly, I'm going to turn this over to you and talk about those speaking points, and then you can ask any questions. So.
Since I am not there to see the calendar, is it emailed to me or? Thank you.
So while Dr. Mitchell passes this out, we're providing this in hard copy, but provide it digitally. I know it was a priority of the board at the tail end of last year to have more of a community presence. And the real desire was to start in school districts. And so what is being passed around now? Oh, thank you. Yeah. What's being passed around now is a schedule that starts in March through the end of the semester. And these are opportunities where Dr. Mitchell and or I are available to attend with you. And what we're asking you to do is consider signing up. You'll see that there's a column to the far right where you can sign up for that opportunity. And so given the fact that so many of these districts just operate a little differently, some may encourage us to attend. Yes, thank you. I will. Some would want us to attend and present in public comment. Others may invite us to be as an agenda item or provide a business report. So everybody operates a little differently. We'll work with you to make sure that you're prepped and ready for that. The other piece that you have here is just an outline of what we would anticipate.
They don't have that. I forgot that part too. I didn't know there was a part two, so you have them all. We'll share that though. I'm sorry, that's what I gave them to. I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was a part two.
I thought that felt a little thick.
I know.
So the second part that's being passed around is an outline of what to expect, and we will certainly work with you and prep for these opportunities and conversations with our, again, starting with school districts. We can always expand to other opportunities, but since this is new and the particular focus for the board was school districts as a priority, that's what you see on this calendar. The outline, again, we're looking for 5 minutes tops when we attend these public meetings. The important part is for you to share who you are, how long you've been a trustee, where you're from, where you grew up. Also, why you're there. So really be intentional explaining why you're there and why you want to be an ambassador for the college to this particular audience. And again, we can help provide those specific talking points, particularly if we're in a certain school district, like number of students that may feed into the college, things like that. So we would help you tailor that. And then I think the most important thing, and this is the last question, that's critical, I think for you as engaged ambassadors, are to ask them, what can we do for their school districts, and to really use that opportunity, not just as a way to introduce ourselves and make a connection, but ask them what the college can do for their districts. So any questions?
Didn't we give you, I know some of us did, on your engagement overview, didn't some of us give you who we were interested in attending?
Yes, we got 3 responses, if I'm
I don't see, and I know I gave a response. I don't see my name anywhere on this.
So this is the actual calendar. These are the meetings that are scheduled. So what you get to do tonight or within the next week, we can.
I would say, yeah, update them and then let me know. You can, give me a call or scan and send it to me, and we'll consolidate.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So what we have right now is your preferred, what you'd be interested in doing as we expand the program, and then also what areas you'd like to go to. So I think for you, it was New Lenox and Lockport.
Pardon me?
I think you had indicated New Lenox as a preferred area, New Lenox, Mokina, Lockport in that area. So we do have that.
Right, and I mean, I know that Jim is from the Mokina, so we're closely tied with the same high school. So, I mean, that's why, and I know he responded too, so I'm just wondering if he and I fight it out and duke it out, which one we want to go to, or can we both go to
Well,
it?
that's exactly it. So if you jot down your availability, you know, Trustee Budzinski might be available for Lockport where you have Lincoln Way, so then we can split that up. And wherever wherever you go, I'll be there with you. But we just need to check your availability because obviously when you look at your calendars, you know, your dates might be different.
Okay, and did you check these as far as the March dates with anything regarding our presidential things?
No, not yet.
Okay, because that needs to be checked into, because some of those dates are on your,
Yeah, well, you know, the good thing about school districts, just like us, they meet every month. So if we can't make an opportunity in March, there's future opportunities to touch
Alright,
base.
so
with
we
those
know
districts.
that's in there.
Yep.
And that's what I did. I went and jotted down what dates I can make,
Mhm.
and then we'll work around your schedule.
Gotcha.
Quick question. I don't see, are we still reaching out to other schools like Bolingbrook on here?
Absolutely. And in fact, I don't know, Trustee Morales, if we got a survey from you. If we did, let me go back and check. But certainly if there's a particular interest for you, Trustee Garcia, I know you had indicated Bolingbrook and Romeoville as areas of interest, and we'll certainly make sure that you are connected to those opportunities. I know Romeoville is in here, but maybe, oh, you know what, Valley View is Bolingbrook, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
What if you have multiple trustees on one day, like 3? Is that acceptable? Oh, that's right. So you could take 2 and that's it.
Right, that's what we said, we're gonna look at your availability because there may be some crossover and others might be able to, you know, you attend one and Trustee Garcia attends a second
different
or
one.
something.
Okay.
And the only one on here is March 14th, because I just looked at the calendar. March 14th is the only.
For which district?
For the presidential thing.
Oh, okay.
Valley View.
Just so you know, March 14th is the only date that all of us need to be present for the presidential thing.
Okay, so I'll gather your feedback and I'll send out an email reminder. Look at your calendars at home and let us know.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. And
Thank
that
you.
concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mitchell. My report is this, we are not going to have a chairman's report. We're still have to have a closed session, and we're going to go to 2C1, 2C2, and 2C8. And, or, yes, so there'll be no further action after that, and that's the end of my report.
You're looking for a motion for all those 3 things. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Go ahead, Joe.
Roderick,
Aye.
Budzinski.
Aye.
Trustee Gian,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
and O'Connell.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.